DETV Sports Update is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
And welcome inside DETV. A little bit of a different setup here on a Monday evening as we are now into March Madness. And we're going to give you your complete 2024 bracket breakdown here live tonight. But before we dive right into that men's bracket, as always, joined by Jason McCall and Matthew Maurer. As again, we're going to use the big screen and give you some insight onto each matchup as we break down the men's tournament. But before we get started, Jason, how you feeling this weekend?
Feeling good. I was not too down about Carolina's loss to NC State. I mean, they were a 10 seed. They won 5 games in 5 days. It was destined for that to happen the way they were playing. And Burns in the post is a beast. So shout out to the NC State and the Wolfpack, but they still go heels. Doesn't matter.
So another North Carolina fan. I have one to my left and one to my right as well. Matthew Maurer, how did that loss sit with you, and how's your confidence level? And we'll dive into the Tar Heels here in just a little bit, but how's your confidence level heading in to the tournament?
I mean, it's great, man. It's better to lose now than to lose later. So
that's true. That's what they say.
Get that loss out of the way and start fresh. So we ready. Man.
Again, 2 years from the date that we had Jason McCall make his debut here for the bracket breakdown. That's when he gave you his North Carolina as a 9 seed, I believe, that year.
8 seed.
8 seed running to the national championship. Jason predicted the national championship correct that year. We're going to look to give you guys some hopefully some correct predictions here today as well. Before we dive in and get the bracket here behind us, anything, we had the selection Sunday yesterday. Any seeding stand out to you, or anything from the bracket reveal that we should dive into ahead of today?
Yeah, they gave UConn the hardest bracket, which is unfair to the number 1 overall seed. You put 3 teams that were in last year's Final Four in the same bracket, and just overall the schedule for all those teams. Look at a team like Auburn, look at a team like Drake. You have a potential for some upsets in that bracket, and I know a lot of people have UConn going to the Final Four, but there's a possibility they may not make it out of that bracket if somebody gets hot.
Again, looking at some of the statistics, I know we've had the brackets out for less than 24 hours, or about 24 hours now. UConn by far, so far though, the number 1 team to pick the national championship. 20% of brackets on ESPN having UConn win it. So 1 out of every 5, the crowd, the fans, they're with UConn again this year. They think they can go back to back, but it will not be easy. Matt, anything stand out to you after yesterday's bracket review?
Yeah. I don't know what pictures Tom Izzo has of people on the selection committee, but I don't know. I don't know how Michigan State made a 9 seed. It's incredible to me. How they made it and Indiana didn't, it's kind of crazy to me, but whatever. I mean, look, for some reason, he's got to have some, damaging photos or something that he's like, look, you gonna put us in. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, the fact that St. John's, we're talking about off air. St. John's didn't make it. That's
correct. Yeah, another team.
25th in Ken Palm was St. John's. They didn't get in. So again, a weird 3 out of the Big East predicted to have 5. They got just 3 teams in yesterday. At least for me, just to go back off of Jason's point, UConn, definitely the toughest bracket, at least to me, guys, in the East. 3 of those teams in this region with UConn were in the Final Four last year. I mean, it's truly incredible. There's never been a team with 4 teams in Ken Palm that are in the top 15. They're all in the East region as well. They did not make it easy for UConn, who again is statistically the number 1 team in the country. It's going to be tough for them, but of course they're the favorites to get back and out of the East region. So without further ado, I say we dive in to the bracket here. Dennis going to control things behind us. But again, yesterday, guys, over the weekend, 5 bids stolen from conference championships. That's the most in some time. That kind of had to do with some of these wacky seedings. We see Duquesne as an 11 seed. And as we go through, there are going to be some surprises. And again, probably the weirdest seeding done by that NCAA committee in some time, of course, with the 5 bids being stolen. So without further ado, let's dive in to the East region.
Ooh, that's bright.
That's right here. We're going to reset. This is perfect here over here, guys. And that's where we're going to begin, up here in the top left corner in the East. And it all starts with that number 1 seed, guys, and that is UConn. We just talked about them. They get Stetson. A fun little nugget about Stetson. It's where they filmed The Waterboy back in the day. So Stetson gets that 16 seed. They get UConn. Guys, what are you thinking here?
I'm taking Stetson. I'm joking. I'm taking UConn, of course, with that. I don't think that's a hard one.
I mean, UConn.
Not much to say here, right?
No, not at all.
So again, we're all going to go with UConn again, just to touch on the defending national champs. 31-3 this year. They ran through the Big East. Of course, your Big East regular season and tournament champions, 31-3, and of course the number one team in terms of overall net rating. And somebody I want to talk to you about, Matt, we talked about him last year. That's Donovan Clingan. Came off the bench, was big for them with Sunoco being that starter last year, and he stepped in. He's playing really big down the stretch, and he's been big for them.
No, he definitely has. I think the guy that they need the most help from is Alex Carabin. He kind of comes and goes during the season. He's not very consistent. If he can get a level of consistency and give them that third scorer, they're going to be really dangerous in this tournament if he can get going.
What do you think, Jason?
I'm pretty much echo with Matt with Carabin. And I mean, I said it off air, but I'll talk about it again. I mean, they're number one overall seed, but they really play in the Big East. I mean, I don't think
Jason's a Big East hater.
I'm not a Big East hater, but there's a reason why only 3 teams got in. I know we wanted St. John's to be there, but this is not
the same Big East.
This is not the John Thompson, J. Boeheim Big East. I mean, they're trying to live off past reputation. It's not going to happen. But I also don't like the fact that the UConn lost quite a few people from last year's squad, namely Jordan Hawkins, who I think was the difference as far as scoring is concerned. So I don't know who that alpha dog is on this team this year. I mean, of course, they got number one for a reason, but I'm not sure who's going to be the guy that can lead them in a one-game scenario from week to week.
Yeah, I think Tristan Newton is probably that guy for them, and then
could be an All-American, right? This
could
year,
definitely be an All-American, and then don't forget they also have the freshman Castile, who I think is probably going to be a top 10 pick this year, who's been really inconsistent. Hasn't really been the guy that people wanted him to be coming fresh out of high school. So, look, again, this could be a big tournament for him if he really, puts the best foot forward and really puts everything into place. He could launch himself in the draft. So, this is going to be a big series for him this tournament.
And again, Tristan Newton, first team All-Big East, potential All-American, and of course Dan Hurley has his group playing very well heading back to the tournament, looking to go back-to-back, I believe, for the first time since the Florida Gators in 07-08.
And that parade was insane. I was actually up there by happenstance last year. I was bored with my wife. She went to a conference. I said, let me go outside. Oh, it's parade. Let me just go and go to the parade. So it was just like randomly being up in Hartford at the time. So. But it was a fun parade, though. It was cool. But
well, let's keep it moving.
They won't have it again. Nope, not this year.
Well, let's keep moving down to the 8-9 matchup, one of the toughest ones to choose here throughout all 4 regions. And this year we get a team that kind of was stagnant down the stretch, was lights out to begin the season, a team that last year, of course, made a run to the Final Four under head coach Dusty May. All those guys, for the most part, are back, especially John L. Davis to lead the way at point guard, averaging about 18 points per game. They are 25-8 on the season. Kind of died down the stretch, right, including that loss to Temple in the conference tournament. We know Temple's kind of been not that great of a team this year. So an early out in the conference tournament for Florida Atlantic, but 25-8, they still are able to grab an 8 seed. A lot of people thought they might be a higher seed, a 9 to 10 or somewhere like that. But Dusty May's group comes in and they get an 8. And who do they got in the first round? How about Chris Collins' squad? Northwestern, 21-11 out of the Big Ten. Not a school that a lot of people talked a lot about coming into the tournament or now even during the tournament. What do you guys think here? A team that was in the Final Four last year in Florida Atlantic and going up against the 9 seed Northwestern.
This is a hard matchup for them. Northwestern has Boo Buie. In case anybody doesn't know from PA, his father, Dan Bowie, played at Harrisburg High School, had a brilliant career, went to Syracuse, and unfortunately ran into some problems. But they're a really tough team. But I will say this, Florida Atlantic, they're not going to be intimidated. I mean, Janelle Davis, he's kind of the guy that holds that glue together. If he can, energize these guys, they can beat Northwestern. But I will say this, Boo Boo, he's been playing lights out. So this is a tough matchup. But I will lean towards Florida Atlantic if I had to pick one.
Bowie, one of the best guards in the country, players in the country so far this year. You take a look about the Owls. They got the 7-footer back, Vlad Golden. You remember him from last year. He's actually played a lot better this year offensively for this team. And then you go to Northwestern, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. Obviously that can differ from game to game. Jason, how do you see this one going?
I mean, this is probably one of the more even matchups of the entire first round. But I'm going to have to lean with the Final Four experience of the coach and mostly returning starters from FAU. So I have Florida Atlantic beating Northwestern in this 8-9 matchup.
I'm going to roll with the Owls as well. Just going to be the experience factor, as Jason mentioned. Again, Northwestern, though, comes out and they knock down their threes. And, of course, as Matt talked about, Boo Billy, one of the best in the country. They'll be tough to beat, but, again, I'm going to go with the experience and the Owls, John L. Davis, and Florida Atlantic. And now to another team that found themselves in the Final Four last year. Not only that, but in the national championship game. That's the San Diego State Aztecs, 24-10 out of the Mountain West. And they're going to take on a team that solidified their bid with that win in the AAC tournament, and that was UAB at 23-11. Guys, they won every game in the tournament by double-digit points. They get a 12 seed. The 5-12s are always very intriguing. More experience with Brian Dutcher's group, having been to the national championship last year. A lot of guys back. They lost a few transfers. What do you guys think of San Diego State and UAB?
This is going to be a fight. Eric Gaines, he's a good point guard for UAB. Really, again, anybody will tell you in the tournament, guard play is the most important currency you have out here. So, I mean, that's a great matchup that's going to be against him and Darian Trammell. Darian Trammell last year played really big for them in the tournament. Had a couple games where he had 21 points. They're really going to need him because Ledee is probably the main guy, Jaden Ledee. He's who they're counting on. So I think San Diego State has the better firepower, but Darian Trammell is really going to have to play like he did last year to catapult them farther. But I do think in this matchup, I will take San Diego State.
Jason, the defense was a top 4 defense coming into the tournament last year. The offense was never there. They still were able to make that run using that defense. The defense this year, not the same, but still very good. Still their strong points. Matt talked a little bit about some of the guys there. Ledee averaged 8 points a game last year, and now he's one of the leading scorers in the country. You usually don't see something like that, especially within the same program. What do you think about San Diego State and UAB? Again, UAB is hot coming off those double-digit victories in the tournament.
UAB is definitely hot. I mean, like you said, all the double-digit wins in the tournament, and just what they've been able to do over the latter half of their season. Of course, Coach Dutcher and Ledee and all the pretty much the same cast minus if you transfer to San Diego State. But I will say that this will be my first upset in the bracket. I have UAB dethroning San Diego State out in the first round.
Hey, could be right. UAB, one of the best scoring teams in the country. Obviously, schedule has a lot to do with it. Them playing, of course, in that conference. 85 points 7 times this season, even scored 100 once this time as well. So kind of an offense versus a defensive matchup style of play here with San Diego State and UAB. I picked against San Diego State and almost all of them last year going, and then they made me eat my words. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go with UAB this year to take down San Diego State. The Cinderella one was in 2023, a new year. I think UAB gets the upset victory here. And I know we talked a lot about the bids being stolen, right? So we're getting some 12 seeds, 11 seeds that we're not really used to saying. And you hate to say that the teams might not be as good as past years, but when you look at it, that's kind of what we're going to get here in the NCAA tournament this year with the way those conference tournaments kind of shook out. So now let's keep going down here with the SEC champions led by Bruce Pearl, the Auburn Tigers, 27-7. Ranked 4th in KenPom, one of the top 5 teams in rating in this season. And they're going to get the Yale Bulldogs. Yale, 22-9, champions out of the Ivy League. They've won 3 out of the last 4 Ivy League championships. I'm not sure if you guys checked this game out on Sunday against Brown. One of the craziest finishes I've ever seen. Brown had this game locked up, and if you want to put on how to lose a game, roll that game because Brown blew it. And Yale, a buzzer beater, sends them back to the NCAA tournament. Guys, are they going to ride that wave against a hot Auburn team coming off their conference championship as well?
No. This is your typical mismatch of a SEC team versus a mid-major conference team. I think it shows its ugly head again. And, well, I don't know. It's just something about tournament time. I trust Bruce Pearl. He's proven it everywhere, all stops he's been, from Wisconsin, Green Bay to, Tennessee to now to Auburn. As long as he's not making impermissible phone calls, he's going to be on coaching stuff. So I like Auburn as a matchup.
Matt Bruce Pearl loves to preach. He says we're a March team. He starts talking about it in November. We're built for March. Here they are, one of the highest ranked teams in terms of net rating. They're SEC champions now after a few of those teams went down early in that tournament. They were the 4 seed in the SEC tournament. Now they win that. They get a 4 seed here. How do you see this one going?
Oh, this is going to be a problem for them. Size Auburn's biggest Achilles heel has been guard play.
Absolutely.
Joni Broom and Jalen Williams are going to be too much for Yale to handle inside, especially Broom, who came out last year for the draft, played really well in the G League camp, and decided to go back to college. Going to be very hard for Yale to match that, so I'm taking Auburn here.
And again, if you look down at that game, I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I'm rolling with Auburn as well, but I think that one could be a good game throughout. Maybe Auburn able to pull away late. We're all going to roll with the Tigers in that 4-13 matchup. Let's keep it going. BYU 23-10. They grabbed the 6th seed. Interesting story here, right? BYU supposed to be potentially a 4 or 5 seed, but due to religion, they can't play on Sundays. So they bump them to a 6th seed so they can play potentially on Thursday and Saturday. So here they go. They get the 6th spot, and they get Duquesne, another interesting conference champion. I believe the 7th seed in the conference tournament. I could be wrong there, but a higher seed, and they steal another bid. It's Duquesne and BYU in the 11-6 matchup. We're used to seeing the 12-5s. That's where a lot of people pick the upsets. Well, statistically speaking, in the last 10 years, way more 11-6 upsets than 12-5 upsets. So what do you guys see here with Duquesne and BYU?
This is going to be my first upset. I'm going with Duquesne. I think Jimmy Clark and DeDe Grant, they're brilliant guard play. They have a really strong backcourt. BYU's best player is Jackson Robinson. I don't think he's going to do much. He's been struggling with shooting this whole year, so I'm taking Duquesne.
Yeah, DeDe Grant would be the fish to save Pittsburgh. So I have Duquesne beating BYU. I don't even with the switch to favor their scheduling due to religious reasons. I don't see it happening at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with BYU. They're going to be a hit or miss team for me. Over 50% of their shots from the floor are beyond the arc. When they're hitting, they win a lot of games. They have some big wins over some top teams this year. When they're not, they can lose to some bad teams. Will they come out and start shooting the ball well? Will they be average? Will they be poor? That's going to tell the story. I think they come out and knock down some shots. Give me BYU against Duquesne in these 11-6 matchup. Let's keep it rolling here in the East region with the Fighting Illini. Illinois 26-8. Your Big Ten champions. They take on Morehead State, 26-8 on the season, one of those 14 seeds. Illinois, and we talked about it on the show in previous years, a team that I've continuously put my faith in and continually get let down over and over again. It seems like the last success they really had was D. Brown and Darren Williams. Right. What do you guys think about Illinois, Morehead State? Does Illinois get a tight one here in the first round?
No.
No.
Not
not at all.
Yeah, I think Terrence Sharon's going to have a field day with that team. And look for Coleman Hawkins to be a problem for them. He's a constant mismatch guy. So I think it's going to be tough for Morehead State to overcome that.
I mean, Terrence Shannon might go for 40 again.
Yeah.
One of the highest, powered offenses in the league, 1.25 points per possession. That's good for third in the country. When you look at kind of the stats, they have the same scoring as the Celtics have in the NBA, which of course is the number one offense there. So again, I'm going to go with Illinois here in the first round. Obviously, we'll see what I do with them later on in their second day in Omaha. But Illinois, I'm going to go with them here. They went 14-6 in the Big Ten, and we all talked about Terrence Shannon Jr. He's going to be leading the way for the Illini. I've got them there in that matchup. Let's keep it rolling here in the East. Washington State, 24-9, guys. They grab a 7 seed this year in the tournament, and they're going up with one of the teams that I'm excited to see now play on this national stage, and that is Drake at 28-6. It's a coach and son DeVries matchup there. What do you guys think between Drake and Washington State at 7-10? Those ones are always close.
This is one of another, not really upsets, but 7-10 matchup is always ones that are get picked. I like what Drake has been doing the entire season. They have a great flow to their offensive game, and when they're hot, they're hot. And I just like the momentum that they're carrying into the tournament. And I'm going to go with the fighting Drizzies right there. Drake.
What do you think?
I agree with him. I think Drake is the team to beat. I think they're going to beat Washington State, and Tucker, he's going to have a field day. So I think he's going to be a guy that could use this tournament as a way to kind of push himself with scouts to get in that second round. So I really like what he
remember that name, right? Tucker DeVries. Remember that name. He's going to be one of the guys you're going to see on SportsCenter in the next couple days after the big win here.
Absolutely.
Over Washington State. So it's a sweep for us. We're all taking Drake. We'll see how that plays out against Washington State. Again, your MVC champions, 28-6 in the regular season for Drake. Again, Washington State, a team that's kind of flown under the radar throughout the year. You know, you don't see them in the tournament typically, but a good season for them, and they are in this year. That's going to be a close game. That'll take us to the bottom of the bracket. We talked about how stacked this East bracket is, right? Is maybe the most best region we've seen in almost a couple of years, right? You got 4 teams in here ranked in Ken Pom, the top 15. 3 of them went to the Final Four last season, and 1 is coming off a Big 12 championship. We all thought maybe coming in they had a chance at the 1 line. Not only that, they don't even get the top spot as a 2 seed, and that is Iowa State, the Cyclones, running through the Big 12 championship. They've had a great year as well all year long, 27-7, and they get the Jackrabbits from South Dakota State, 22-12 for SDSU this year, guys. And you know, typically South Dakota State, a team that's caused some havoc in the NCAA tournament some years, giving teams some great games at one of those higher seeds. But Iowa State has been fantastic here lately, especially in the conference tournament. What do you think about the Iowa State Cyclones matching up with South Dakota State?
I think South Dakota State really doesn't want this matchup.
Right.
Iowa State, their nickname is the Cyclones for a reason. They're going to just. This is not even a fair fight.
No.
Iowa State they've been dominant for the majority of the season, especially what they did in a Big 12 tournament. And the Big 12 isn't the same Big 12 as the years past, but when you have a team like Iowa State could possibly come out of this region and represent the East. They've
been hot as of late. Are you kind of sharing that similar appeal there?
Iowa State's one of the teams that I think I'm the least strongest out of all the number 2s. I love their defensive play. I think they have some dominant guards in Lipsy and is it Grant? I'm trying to remember the other guy, Gilbert. Really good defensively. It's the worry about the post play. I'm worried about the forwards.
Yeah.
That's what worries me. But for this matchup, it's going to be not a problem at all. But if Tucker DeVries gets them in the second round, that could be a big problem for him because I don't think they have a forward that can match up with him.
That's going to be a fun one here. Just a little bit foreshadowing if we do get there. Iowa State picked to finish 7th preseason in the Big 12, and we talked about the defense. Number 1 adjusted efficiency defense in the country for Iowa State. They were phenomenal at home this year. Not so great on the road. Neutral site's a little bit different, so we'll see how they perform. Obviously did well enough in that Big 12 championship. Give me the Cyclones in the 15-2 matchup as well. Well, let's head now to round number 2. Stick in here with the first weekend. UConn against, I think we all had the Owls from Florida Atlantic there. Both of these teams in the Final Four last season. How do you see the Owls and UConn going? Can Florida Atlantic give them a run here? 2 very high-powered offenses.
That's where the first 1 seed goes down.
No.
And we have Jason's first big prediction. Jason, look over here into camera 1 and tell us a little bit about that.
Tell him.
Flap your wings, Florida Atlantic. The Owls will upset UConn in the second round. It's just what it is.
We talked about Golden Matt. He maybe has the size to stay with Donovan Clingan a little bit, maybe to battle down in the post. We talked about Tristan Newton, John L. Davis. Those 2 guys are going to go at it. Yep. So some similar matchups there. I'm leading UConn. Which way are you going?
I'm going UConn. I will say this. If they can control Castile and control Carabin, they have a good shot at beating them. But that's going to be a tall task for them.
Got to run them off the 3-point line, right? It's the only way to stop UConn is hope they have a bad shooting day, run them off the 3-point line, make them make some tough shots. Better or easier said than done rolling with UConn here. Jason going with Florida Atlantic, me and Matt going with UConn here to, I believe, the Sweet 16. Now I'm rolling down UAB. I had UAB. What do you guys have with San Diego State, UAB? Either way, who do you have against Auburn?
State, yeah.
So I had UAB, but Auburn and either one of those matchups. Can any of those 2 teams take down Auburn?
No.
I don't know. I think San Diego State could.
And let's talk a little bit about that matchup. You talked about the backcourt from Auburn, and you're absolutely right. That has by far been their weakness. Those 2 guys in the front court are by far their best players.
Correct.
They're more of a defensive team than an offensive team, as you see for San Diego State, but obviously can score the basketball too, more offensively skilled than San Diego State is. Auburn coming in as 4th in Ken Pom. They've been getting a lot of love since that win yesterday. Even before that game, everybody seems to be rolling with the Tigers. We talked about the backcourt. That's what scares me when it comes to tournament time, right? And as Matt said earlier, when you don't have a backcourt, you got to take care of the basketball, be able to score the basketball. I think it could be a tough matchup here for Auburn, but I will stick with the Tigers in a narrow one here in the second round. What do you guys think?
I'm going with Auburn in that matchup.
Yeah, I'm going with San Diego State.
And back to the Sweet 16 for the Aztecs. And what do you like about San Diego State?
Oh, I just think that Brian Dutcher plays a bona fide, scrappy defense. Those guys are very responsible on playing the defensive lanes, and they don't really get caught out of bad positions. The offense is very structured. They're just a really strong team. I mean, it surprised a lot of people last year, but a lot of people have to remember Brian Dutcher, in case you might not know, he was also part of the Fab Five. He was the top assistant behind Steve Fisher, who then went to San Diego State. He followed. So this guy may seem like he came out of nowhere, but he's been there for a long time.
30-plus years of experience.
Yeah, so he's good money. And in case you're wondering, he is also one of those guys that the Wolverines are going to seriously think hard about bringing in. He might be there.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
he might be there.
Something to keep an eye on.
That might already be a thing.
Right. That might be a thing. But he's that good. He's that good of a coach. He's that good of a recruiter. So he's a guy. He's actually the main recruiter, along with Perry Watson, who was Jalen Rose's high school coach, to bring in the Fab Five.
Keep it rolling.
That's
Here
amazing.
is
Perry Watson.
we got it all here on DETV Sports. Keep it rolling now as we talked about the Auburn matchup. Let's get down here. BYU and Duquesne. We had some split thoughts there on who would win that game, but the winner of it has got to take on Illinois. Here we are with Illinois now in the second round, coming off that Big Ten championship. Will there be any difficulty for the Illini here against either Duquesne or BYU?
No.
Nope.
I'm with you. I'm going with the Illini. I even know, again, Ayo DeSomnu really got me a couple years ago. Playing very well now for the Bulls, but I'm going to roll with him. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt this year. Let's roll with Illinois here for right now. Washington State and Drake, all three of us clean the board with Drake, all three of our favorite underdogs here at a 10 spot as they take on Iowa State. So here's the big one, Matt. You talked about it a little bit earlier. Kick us off here. Who do you got in the 2 versus the 10 matchup? Again, Iowa State, another trendy pick after what they did to Houston, a blowout of Houston, one of the worst in school history.
Yeah, I'm actually going with Drake in this matchup. That's going to be one of my biggest upsets. I think Drake has the kind of team that can give Iowa State troubles. Again, Iowa's very good with the guard play. When it comes to forwards, that's where they're going to struggle. And Tucker DeVries is a good enough shooter to keep those guys honest. And the coach there, DeVries as well. That's the father-son combo. Yeah, he runs a tight ship. So, again, these guys are going to have court awareness that's very high. I think they can beat Iowa State. So that's my first upset right there. Big upset.
What do you think, Jason?
You run into a problem where you have bad matchups. I think Iowa State matches up better with Washington State than they do with Drake.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Drake to the Sweet 16.
Man, we're all on Drake. How about that? That must not be good for them coming up this weekend.
Shout out to Curtis Trouble Smith. We taking your squad, bro.
Drake, I'm going with you too. Iowa State, to me, every year, and again, they've made up for it in the past, but they're a defensive team every year coming into the tournament. And then whether that be in the first or second round, they're able to get some wins sometimes by stifling teams and getting some of those victories. But I'm going to roll with the offense here over the defense and go Drake over Iowa State. Again, I think maybe a double-digit score for Iowa State. I think it might be Lipsy for the in terms of on the entire roster. So they've got a lot of depth, but again, everybody chips in. They don't really have those go-to guys, and maybe that'll be an issue.
Let me just say this too: they really were hurt this year with Omaha Bailu. He was a blue-chip McDonald's All-American. Has been really bad. He's basically just sitting on the bench collecting dust. He's averaging about a minute. I say I'm being smart. He's averaging more than a minute, but he's only averaging
and
about
they play a lot of guys.
2 points a game. So again, they really are hurt by Bailu not being able to step out and show his prep credentials.
Do you think he may get any burn in the tournament?
No.
Especially after that run they went on.
But I will say this, he is athletic enough that he could be the guy that they're desperate enough to say, I just need you to stick that guy, run with him. So he does have that kind of athleticism. The problem is he's foul prone. He doesn't really know the game
confidence
yet.
is gone. Right?
Yeah, confidence is 8. I wouldn't even be surprised if he doesn't enter the transfer portal next year.
Again, Iowa State, a trendy pick. We'll see if they can pass Drake. Not according to us three. We'll see how it goes. Let's now head with a chance. We're going to the Sweet 16, a chance to go to the Elite 8. And let's talk a little bit about UConn. We've got them advancing, and it's UConn and Auburn. This is pretty much chalk for a lot of the games.
Well, I have San Diego State.
Or San Diego State, correct. But that's pretty much the matchup with those two that almost everybody has, at least so far. It's early on championship week here. But how do we see that going with UConn and Matt? I'll ask you UConn San Diego State. And Jason, I'll ask you here, and UConn and Auburn. That's a big one.
Auburn.
Ooh, another big upset there.
Ooh.
And what is it about Auburn and Bruce Pearl's squad?
You know what? For me, I just don't. I don't know why I don't like this UConn squad. I just don't. It's just they just don't do enough for me. Like I can't really put my finger on it. Like,
and we talked about this before on the air. Jason came in preaching not UConn today.
I don't think you're going to see a repeat champion on the men's side for a while. So that also I don't think that's going to happen either. I mean, it's been since Florida 06-07. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to roll here with UConn over Auburn. Again, it's going to be the backcourt for me and the offense from UConn. I think it's going to be too much. Again, Auburn, one of the best defenses in the country, so that's going to be a battle. I'm going to take UConn, though, in a close one there. UConn San Diego State, Matt, how do you feel about that? Can San Diego State do it again?
No, I think they're going to run into a problem. And I think no matter if it's Auburn or San Diego State, wherever you may go in this, I think Donovan Clingan is going to be a problem for Broome in the interior, and I think same thing with San Diego State. So I think that's going to be the real big matchup, is that Clingan takes up a lot of space. He's a great shot blocker. He alters a lot of shots. And look, he's playing for a draft position as well. Right now he's somewhere around the late lottery trying to move up. So he's a guy that I think is going to really use this to springboard himself into that draft category. So
UConn?
Yeah. Yep, UConn.
UConn, and Jason rolling with Auburn to the Elite Eight there. That'll take us down here where we have Illinois meeting up with Drake here with a spot to head to the region final.
Drake.
Illinois versus Drake. What do you guys think?
I'm going to. My mind says Illinois, but my heart says Drake.
Be a lot of offense in this one.
Yeah, but I will say this: this is a chance for Terrence Shannon to really put himself in a seriously good space. So I'm gonna go with him. I think they'll beat Drake in advance. So I'm gonna go with that.
I'm also going to roll with Shannon and the Fighting Illini.
Illinois, again, have had some inconsistencies through the year, right? They've had trouble closing out some games. They blew that big lead to Penn State down the stretch. They lost that one.
Shout out to Ace Baldwin, Baltimore.
There you go.
There you go. And again, it's always tough. We got to find some upsets you're going to stick with and have it going. Give me Drake over Illinois here. That's going to be one of my biggest upsets of the tournament. Again, Illinois. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a great game. A lot of offense. Drake late in that one over Illinois. All right, guys, who's going to win the East region? Let's just pick our East region winners. We talked about some of the finals or potential finals that we have in our brackets. Jason, I believe you had Auburn beating UConn and then taking on Illinois, right? So who do you have winning the East region?
I'm going with the Tigers all the way to the Final Four. Auburn.
Don't even have it. Jason's ready. He's taking Auburn all the way to the Final Four. They're hot right now. Again, one of the good picks. They're both offense and defense, both up there in the ratings. Matt, who are you going with the winner of the East region?
I mean, against conventional wisdom, I'm going to go UConn. I just think that they have a lot of pieces that's just going to present some problems. I said against conventional reasoning because, to Jason's point, it's hard to be back-to-back champion, but I do think they have enough to get themselves in the Final Four.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rolling with UConn as well here in the East. Give me UConn to get to the Final Four. Well, guys, let's keep it rolling. We're now going to head to the South region. Dennis is on it again. The Final Four in Phoenix coming up this year. So here we are. If we look now to the top right in the South, and we have to start with Houston. 30-4. What a season. They've hung around the top all year long, guys. And then just fell completely flat on their face in that championship game. Absolutely blown out. Had the brakes just blown off them by Iowa State. One of the worst losses in school history.
Yep.
What do you guys think about Houston? Are they still for real?
I never thought they were real to begin with.
Well then.
I see, I like some of the talent they got, but I just never saw them as the traditional power number one. But yeah, I think they're good enough to beat Longwood for this matchup, sure.
Give me Houston. Jason, what about you?
Yeah, Houston's probably the most mid of all the ones.
I agree.
Now, is that recency bias, or have you thought that all year, or was it that Iowa State game that has a lot of people thinking this way?
All year. I mean, another squad I don't trust.
To me, it's personnel.
Yeah,
I mean, other than L.J. Cryer, who's a Baylor transfer, I really like his game. But again, he's limited. You have Sheard, who's there. He's limited. Sharp, they're limited. It's not guys that are like really dominant players. They're just really good guys that fit really well on a team. But they have none of those guys that's like, here, I need a basket, get me a bucket.
Especially, I mean, to your point, offensively limited, right? In terms of like, and that's what we saw out of them last year. Like, you have Shed and all these guys. Cryer, I thought, was a great addition offensively for them. They needed somebody like that.
Yep.
But yeah, they're long, athletic. They're they're going to get rebounds. They're one of the best defensive teams in the country. We know how I feel about defensive teams come tournament time, but they are there for a reason. Give me Houston here, at least in the first round. I think we all got them going to round number 2 in Memphis. Here we go. This is a good one, guys. Texas A&M, 20-14 on the year. They get a 9 spot, and they get Nebraska. Nebraska is looking for their first tournament win in history, school history. I know I had to double check that, but that is accurate. They get the 8 spot at 23-10. Texas A&M been kind of the popular pick in this matchup after the way they played a little bit in that SEC tournament. What do you guys think here? Nebraska, A&M in that 8-9.
Yeah, Nebraska, this ain't football, is it?
No.
Well, even if it was, they might be going down in that too.
Well, recently, but
recently, correct. Yeah, not historically.
Can Tom Osborne coach the basketball team too?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
and again, Fred Hoiberg leading the way.
Fred Hoiberg,
there for Nebraska.
Iowa State legend.
Chicago Bulls, legends. What do you guys think here?
I'm going to go
tough
with
one, right?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Tough
I'm going to go with Texas A&M. Look, it's going to be. We're going to find out if the Japanese Curry, Keisei, what is it, Tominaga?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Nebraska. Yeah.
That's a mouthful. Yeah, this is a big matchup for him. But I'm going with Texas A&M. I'm not a firm believer in what Nebraska has there. I think Texas A&M has a little bit better pieces, but look, they have some good firepower. Nebraska could win. Wouldn't shock me, but I'm gonna take Texas A&M.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go with the Cornhuskers with their first tournament win.
I'm going to roll with the Cornhuskers, too. I mean, the non-conference schedule for Nebraska was, I think, the worst in the country. I mean, it was really, you want to say cupcake. It was cupcake. But again, they got the job done. They got 5 guys that can shoot over 35% from 3, including C.J. Wilcher, who's there for Nebraska now. You heard Matt mention Tominaga. I'm going to go with the shooting of Nebraska here to take out Texas A&M, who's a very good defensive team. But I'm going to go with Nebraska here with the 8 spot, as Jason said, to get their first win in tournament history. So that'll take us now to the 5-12 matchup where we have another champion this time, Wisconsin getting in here at the 5 seed, 22-13, and they get James Madison. There are a few teams here, guys, this year with over 30 wins. JMU was one of them.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, I was surprised to see them on the 12 line, right? A lot of people had maybe 9, 10s, but they get a 12, and then they get Wisconsin here in the first round.
Yeah, I think the NCAA wants some of their money back. They put them at the 12 seed. This is going to be upset.
You like JMU? You rolling with the Dukes?
Yeah,
I'm running the Dukes too. Bickerstaff and Edwards, they're tough. I don't think Wisconsin has enough. I really don't. I'm shocked that Wisconsin has a 5 seed.
Yeah.
That's incredible to me. I don't know how I don't know how the Big Ten is able to get some of these seedings that they get, but yeah, James Madison's a problem for them. Trust me, when Wisconsin's coaching staff saw who they were playing, they were not happy. Trust me.
Couldn't have been.
And again, they had a nice run in that Big Ten tourney, not the Big Ten tourney champions, but good enough to land them on the 5 spot. Give me the Dukes as well. I'm rolling with JMU. I like what they've been able to do this year. Again, 3 players that can average double digits for you. That's what you like to see come tournament time. Give me the Dukes over Wisconsin. Speaking of the Dukes, that'll take us to Duke here, the 4 spot, as they take on Vermont, the Catamounts at 28-6. Vermont, another team that you see historically get into the dance, usually has some success as well. For me, not this year. Give me the Blue Devils.
Give me the Catamount. I'm joking.
Not crazy.
I wish.
It's happened to them before.
It has happened before, but I just think Filipowski and some of the guys they got there at Duke right now are just probably a little too big for guys like Vermont. I don't think Duke's going to get as far as some people. Mark my words, you have Duke going far. I don't think this is the year for them. But in this matchup, I think they're good enough to take Vermont for sure.
And John Shire 1-1 in the NCAA.
Matt,
Oh, okay. You feeling spicy?
Now, is it the Duke hatred, though, that's kicking in?
No, it's It's not even Duke hatred. This isn't the same Duke.
Well, they got some
year.
experience back this. Proctor, Roach, Filipowski, those guys.
Yeah,
have
but
some
Roach really
experience
wasn't.
now.
Roach
Proctor
really,
mid.
and Roach really hasn't been himself the entire season. If we're gonna be honest about it, you watched
Since
Duke's
maybe
game.
that run, yeah, I'm with you.
But again, the size of Duke on the interior may prove too much for the Catamounts. Although the Catamounts have a history of upsetting people in the first round.
8 straight American East League titles for Vermont.
Shout out to Taylor Copper.
That is crazy. I'm gonna roll again. Tough. I think it was a tough matchup for them.
I'll go with the other school.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm going with Duke as well. I think it's a tough matchup for Vermont. I like this matchup for the Blue Devils here in the first round. Give me Duke to advance. Now we got a good one here. NC State, a Cinderella run. Guys, in that ACC tournament, taking out your Tar Heels in that ACC championship game.
Is that what we're doing?
That's some daggers.
What? North Carolina's a 1 seed. You guys are both wearing blue. It's okay. It happened. I'm just talking facts. Just talking facts. And I'm going to set it up to say this. I don't think they win this game. Give me Texas Tech and the Red Raiders. I think they had their run. I think it was a nice Cinderella run through the ACC championship. Watching them post game, talking about, oh, this is what we dreamed about. I've never cut the nets down before. No. I think they did it. They exerted themselves. I think they go down in a big way to Texas Tech.
Not so fast, my friend. I do like the Wolfpack in this 6-11 matchup. I think the combination of Horn and Burns will prove too much for Texas Tech. I don't think a lot of teams in the country have anybody who can hold Burns in post.
If you haven't checked out Burns, go check out some Burns highlights, at least from the tournament.
I mean, to me, he reminds me.
Robert Traylor.
Traylor, I give him Pig Miller.
Yeah.
That kind of big man.
Big boy, man.
But he's a way better passer.
That's true.
And he scores, and he actually scores when he wants to. He doesn't force the offense at all. And that's what I like about this team.
6'9", 275. I'm going NC State as well.
Oh, gotcha. Again, I'm leaning with Texas Tech Red Raiders. Not the Texas Tech Red Raiders that you're used to seeing. That's all defense with a little bit of scoring. This team can score the basketball. They can play a little defense as well. Give me the Red Raiders there over NC State. Let's keep it going. Kentucky, the 3 spot. Matt, you cover the draft. They got some guys there that could be taken. One of the highest powered offenses, I think 3rd in terms of offensive rating this season. The defense, not quite as high there. The defense lackluster, but maybe the highest scoring team potentially in the tournament. They get Oakland as the 14 seed. Can they give Kentucky a run for their money here in the first round?
No.
Kentucky.
I'm with you. I'm rolling with Kentucky. Again, they got some guys, some lottery picks on that team, some young freshmen that can really score the basketball. Give me the Kentucky Wildcats after a really disappointing tournament exit last year with John Calipari. So look for them to get back on track. Again, Kentucky and another early exit in the SEC tournament. Just quickly to kind of focus on that. How do you guys feel about teams in the conference tournaments coming into the NCAA tournament? Do you want a team that you think is going to do well and perform well? Historically speaking, teams that have lost early in their conference tournaments haven't done well. And we saw a lot of that from top teams this year.
That's normally the case, but this is Kentucky. In a single game elimination, in a big tournament where teams don't know you that well, unlike your SEC conference counterparts who play you twice a year, I think in a one-game scenario against a team that's unfamiliar with your style, watching you all year, I think Kentucky is one of those teams where no one wants to play them in a one-game scenario. And they have too much firepower, too many McDonald's All-Americans, talent, things of that nature. And then you have experienced coach like Coach Cal. I mean, I just like Kentucky in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm with that. I just think Dillingham, Shepard, Wagner, it's just way too much for Oakland to overcome.
And it feels like Dillingham started off as the best player for Kentucky, but didn't end up being Shepard down the ladder stretch.
I still think Dillingham's the one that stirs the coffee.
Yeah, he is.
They got 4 guys.
I mean, you can pick anybody really on that squad.
Yeah. Antonio Reeves is the 5th-year senior. He's very good too.
Yeah, they've got some guys for sure. We're all rolling with Kentucky. And that'll take us now to the 7-10 matchup, our first taste of the play-in here, guys, with 2 teams, again, that you might not have thought they'd be playing in the play-in ahead of Selection Sunday. That's Boise State and Colorado. Those are 2 talented teams here at the 10 spot. They'll play, obviously, earlier in the week. Let's start with those 2. Florida coming off an SEC championship game run. They lost a 7-footer early in that game. Handloggin broke his ankle, so we hope he's okay. A Paul George type injury, so we want to make sure send out our thoughts and prayers there. So
that was nasty to watch.
They lose the 7-footer, so that hurts him a little bit. But again, one of the higher-powered offenses like Kentucky that we've seen, they got 4 guys that can really score the basketball. What do you guys think of this 7-10?
I first think of the 10. I think that Colorado will beat Boise in the first 4. I think Colorado should have gotten in without being
I'm going Colorado
in the play-in. Colorado should have been a solid seed without the first 4. But I still have Florida winning this matchup in the 7-10.
I like to hear that. I'm rolling with Florida.
You'll never hear it
as
again,
well,
don't worry.
but again, KJ Simpson may be one of the best players, maybe the best player out of the Pac-12 this year for Colorado.
Yeah, I'm going Colorado. I think Colorado beats Boise State, and I think they beat Florida. Cody Williams and Tristan De Silva, they're a tough combo. I really think they're going to pose problems, especially with the big man not being there for Florida.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, they got a little bit of depth in the front court, but not another 7-footer there defensively for the Gators. So I'm going to roll with the Gators. Jason taking the Gators. Matt rolling with Colorado to advance.
Not a bad pick, though, Matt.
To the second. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. That's a close one for sure. That'll take us to the 2 seed Marquette, coming off a Big East championship blowout loss to UConn. Again, the kind of story, it's been on for the last at least month or two, Tyler Kolek, right? Is he going to play? That oblique injury. Last year he suffered an injury right before the tournament, and deja vu for Shaka and his group once again this year. They looked good in the Big East. But again, Kolek, that's the big question mark coming into tour. We haven't heard any news there. Shaka said he's most likely to play. I'm assuming we'll see him, but what is his status going to be? It's not obviously not going to be 100%, so we'll see how that goes. I think Kolek had over 30 assists in the last 3 Big East games that he played in before the injury. Now they're going to get Western Kentucky 22-11, stealing one of those bid stealers there, and they get a 15 spot. I'm rolling with Shaka and Marquette.
Yeah, the Hilltoppers run will end in the first round. Marquette wins.
Yeah, Marquette's one of my favorite teams in this tournament. I'm going with them. Cam Jones and the big man they got. They're terrific, and that's not even including Kolek. If Kolek gets added to that mix, I think they're going to be even twice as dangerous.
Yeah, that's definitely true. They could be. Again, Western Kentucky, they play at the fastest pace in all of college basketball. A shot gets up every 14 seconds for Western Kentucky, but give me Marquette as well. They're advancing. Right back up to the top now as we have Houston going up against either Nebraska or Texas A&M. Again, Houston, not you want to say limping in here, but a tough loss in that conference championship. Give me the Cougars, though, to get back on track with that win against Longwood. I think they blow out Longwood in the first round, and then I think they take down Nebraska or Texas A&M in round 2.
I like Houston, and we'll have a matchup with this.
Yeah, I'm going with Houston.
Houston advancing there. Now down to Wisconsin or James Madison taking on the Duke Blue Devils. Now I believe I had JMU. Jason, did we all 3 have JMU?
I have JMU.
JMU, yeah.
So let's talk about it. JMU going up against the Duke Blue Devils
and
in
I think
Brooklyn.
it's another victory for JMU.
Oh, 31-2.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I think that's tough for them.
What do you think, Jay? You agree? You think JMU going to keep it rolling?
You know what? Yeah. JMU. The Dukes beat Duke.
Definitely possible for sure. I'm going to go with Duke. I think it's going to be a close game, and I wouldn't be surprised if JMU gets the win, but give me Duke here to advance, at least get 2 wins in the tournament to meet up with Houston a little bit later down the road in the Sweet 16.
And
that'll take us here.
4.
Texas Tech and NC
right,
State.
this bracket, though.
Well, we both have some different picks down here.
Yep.
Both of you guys, I think, rolling with NC State. So who do you guys would have in an NC State-Kentucky matchup?
Oh, Kentucky.
Yeah, I got Kentucky.
Kentucky
You have to
again.
think about it.
Yep.
Kentucky, Texas Tech for me. I think that's another really good game. It's
It's
toss-up.
going to be a very good game, yeah.
I'm going to go give me Kentucky, and who knows, maybe I'll choose when my bracket officially comes out on Thursday. But as of right now, I'm sticking with Kentucky to advance there. Now looking down here, Jason and I have Florida. Matt, he's got Colorado going up against Marquette. Let's start with you here, Matt, first. Colorado and Marquette. You seem like you like Marquette.
Yeah, Marquette's, to me, I'm just going to tell you guys ahead of time, they're my Final Four.
I figured that. I figured as much.
Yeah. I really like them. Again, they're a tough squad. Shaka Smart always has guys that can defend. And Cam Jones, mark my words, he's a just ridiculous shot maker for them, and that's huge in the tournament. So, yeah, Marquette is a really tough team.
Marquette should have made the Final Four last year, if you're going to be honest about it.
Jason.
But I got Marquette in that matchup, too, against Florida as well. We know you
Give me the Gators.
We already know, man.
Yeah, we
already know, man.
I'm going to say Kolek doesn't come back, or if he does in the first round, he's a little banged up. And then they run into a high-powered Florida offense, similar to
us homers.
Similar to what we saw out of UConn due to Marquette in that Big East championship. I think Florida, once they're able to regroup, they were really rolling before that injury to the big fella, and that kind of brought them down emotionally back to earth. They were rolling before that. I think they get back on track, and I think Florida, as a 7 seed, can advance.
He has to go with Florida since it's Nova and he has to pick another team as a home.
Oh, so there we go. Hey,
there you go.
There you go. It's true. And that one, and Matt, I saw you post about it. Just quickly touch on it. That game with Marquette in the Big East tournament. I stayed up watching that one.
That was a great game, man.
That was a heartbreaking loss.
Hard to
fall asleep.
It was a great game,
though. But a heck of a game there for Marquette and Villanova. So I have for Florida the Sweet 16. Let's talk about the Sweet 16 now, guys.
Yep.
And with you, JMU going up against Houston in the Sweet 16.
Ooh.
Can the Dukes keep it rolling?
I do got them going. I think they can beat Houston too.
JMU to the Elite 8 from Matt. Jason,
do.
you don't want to do it seems like, but you're thinking about it.
I don't want to do it.
I don't either.
I don't want to do it. So I'm going to just, my heart is telling me JMU, but I'm going with my gut. I'm going to take Houston.
Give me Houston, again, the best defensive team probably potentially in the field. I give them to slow down the 31-win, high-powered Dukes. Again, the schedule, maybe a little bit there. I don't know if they've seen a team. I actually have played a few tough games this year, but going to take on Houston here. Give me Houston in a close one.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be a good matchup.
It's a fun game, man.
It's gonna be a very fun game. But yeah, like I said, Bickerstaff and Edwards are gonna be really tough.
What name you said? What name is that?
Bickerstaff.
Bickerstaff.
Yep.
Folks, you know the name.
Yeah, that's a fact. His
basketball family. You know
that's
what it is.
That's a fact. Yeah, that's my boy's nephew plays for them. So yeah, it's a little family there. But it's gonna be a tough matchup for Houston.
Bernie, you got BJ, now you got the younger Bickerstaff.
Exactly.
JMU.
So Houston, forgive me. Who'd you take again to win?
I take JMU.
JMU to the Elite 8. That's right. So Houston, JMU,
Yep.
And that'll take us down here.
Yep.
Where I have the Duke Blue Devils going up against, I believe, we've seen the Florida Gators. And let's see what you got. Did you both take Duke?
No. I had Duke losing to JMU.
That's right. So I must have messed something up down here. Oh,
yeah, we're down here.
Florida, Marquette for me. And you guys have
Marquette.
Colorado?
I had Colorado beating Florida.
So you have Marquette, Colorado, and you're going with Marquette.
Yep.
Jason?
Did we skip Kentucky?
Well, you have.
We said Kentucky.
Yeah,
I had Florida. You had Kentucky.
No, you had missed the Kentucky-NC State matchup.
Oh, I'm rolling with Kentucky.
Okay, so
we're going to Kentucky. Yep.
Yeah, I'll go Kentucky too.
So we got Kentucky, Marquette.
Yep.
And for you as well, Jason.
Kentucky,
and
Marquette.
I've got Florida, Marquette.
I got Marquette coming out.
Kentucky.
It's gonna be Marquette, Mark Maurer.
Florida to the final of the South region.
This guy.
You got 4 guards. When you got 4 guards,
I'm telling you,
Pullen,
I never want to hear about homerism ever again.
And Walter Clayton Jr.
Kentucky.
This is crazy.
Kentucky is coming out of the South. I'm gonna say it now. They disappoint a lot of people during the regular season.
Why do you?
They're gonna make up for it.
Serious question. Why do you have so much faith in Florida? Is it Riley Kugel? Who are you?
No, Kugel off the bench. I like Kugel off the bench. To me, it's Pullen, Walter Clayton. They have 3 or 4 guys that can score a lot. They have the double-digit scores, and they've got the size in the front court. I know losing Hanlockton hurts him. He was 7'1", but you got Condon, who comes in at 6'11", some other guys off the bench. I think Todd Golden's done a phenomenal job there. I think they would have beaten Auburn had not had that emotional loss early in that game. They still somehow made it a game when they were off to a horrible start. I just think they're a sneaky team this year that could make a nice little run.
You're going to sneak right out. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We'll see.
I'm not mad at it. I mean, Florida, I do think Florida's a very talented team. So I'm not.
2 years ago, we had Jason come up here and tell us 8-seed North Carolina was going to the national championship. And I sat here with the same reaction.
And they lost in the championship game, right?
And they got there. So I'm going to roll with the Gators here in the finals of the South region. So I have a Houston, Florida. And what do you guys have here in the finals? Houston, Marquette, I think, for Matt. Or no?
No, I have
JMU, Marquette, and then Jason.
I have Houston and Kentucky.
So pick your South region winner. Matt's got Marquette. Kentucky.
What'd you say, Dennis?
Man.
He wants to say Florida. Just
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
here's the thing. I'm gonna fill out 2 brackets.
Just go
No,
ahead.
no.
And this one, I'm gonna
No.
go with Houston.
What did Coach Joe say?
I'm gonna go with
pins,
Houston.
is it written in pen?
I'm gonna go
not
with
pencil?
Houston here on the show. I'm picking Houston to
But his
beat
heart's
Florida.
saying Florida.
But my heart's saying Florida. But I think there's a good chance whoever wins that Kentucky-Florida game, you can also take.
But let me
down
just say this about Houston. This is my only problem with Houston. This is not just for you guys. This is for you guys out here doing your brackets. Houston's going to run into a problem where they need a basket, and somebody's going to be like,
I can't do it.
I can't do it, coach. I can't do it. That's the problem with Houston.
I agree.
They don't have a legit shot maker, and that's the problem.
You must think Brad Bill will know where somebody is still playing for Florida to pick them to go that far, man.
Hey, man, all I need is Zion and the rest of those guards that can really score the basketball. But again, you're right, Houston, the offense, and we saw it happen last year, down the stretch when things are tightening up, they looked awful in some of those sets, at least offensively, some big shots. They don't have that, one guy. You talked about Shed and some of those other guys that are great overall players, but they're not a guy that's going to create their own shot and knock down a bucket when you
Now,
need.
I'll say this. I did pick Kentucky. I'm not backpedaling at all.
Yeah.
I think whoever wins that.
But I think either one of the top 3 seeds between Houston, Marquette, and Kentucky can legitimately come out of this region.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like, so if you're trying to pick something,
Man, I'll tell you, the
Nothing
more
else
I'm
to tell
thinking,
those top 3.
I may change right here on the show. I'm going to go.
Wait for it.
I'm going to change it. I'm going to go with Florida to advance, but again, to me, it's going to be whoever wins between Florida and Kentucky wins the region.
y'all heard it here first.
And let
Whoever
me
wins,
just
Florida,
I heard it.
Kentucky wins the region.
And let me just give you guys some other ones. The kid Oso, that's the big man for Marquette. He's a problem. He's a problem for all bigs. He's a amazing passer. He's great at creating shots. He's a shooter. He's more of a stand-up guy. He's not a post player. That's the reason why Marquette's so difficult. They run plays through him. He's like Draymond Green, but he's actually 6'10". It's a problem.
Oh, he's a real 6'10", okay.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Again, one of the, you could argue one of the best or most well-coached teams, obviously, in the tournament, the way they play.
Correct.
Again, I think athleticism and running gun might give them a little bit of trouble. That's where I like Florida and Kentucky with that high-powered offense. I think they could really get outscoring and put Marquette in a little bit of a bind. But I'm going with the winner of Florida. Kentucky wins the region, so that's how I'm going to go down here.
Okay.
So with Marquette,
Yep.
Florida as it stands right now,
Kentucky.
and Kentucky. I
There we
I
go.
like it. I like all 3 of those. Let's keep it rolling now, Dennis, as we are going to head to the. Well, actually, let's stay right here to the Midwest, so we can stay right here, staying in the same spot.
That's fine.
And here we go. It took us to the 3rd region to talk about it. A buzzer beater loss to Wisconsin in the Big Ten Championship, a team that in previous years is a first weekend out. But here they are once again, guys. They're a top seed in the tournament. Edie's back. It's Purdue, number 1, and they'll get the winner of the play in Montana State and Grambling. Let's talk a little bit about, actually, we'll just pick a winner, Purdue or the 16. And then I'll get your overall thoughts on Purdue here in the
I
next
mean,
one.
I'm going to say this. The tournament really did them a favor by putting
did.
Montana State and Grambling.
And location-wise, Indy Forum, right down the street.
I'll say this. It doesn't matter. They're not going to make it to the Final Four. There's just too many problems, and most of it's going to come down to the guard pay. Lawyer and Brandon Smith are the best guards they got, and really they would probably be bench players for most of these teams that are in the tournament. That's no shade. That's just the facts. So, yeah, Purdue will have its way with Montana State or Grambling. I think it probably will be, I'm going to choose Grambling to get that matchup, and then I think Purdue wins that, sure. But trust me, I don't think Purdue will make the Final Four.
Jason, Purdue.
I echo the sentiments with Purdue not making the Final Four. They don't pass the smell test, the eye test, any test.
Yeah.
I think once you can corral Edie and get him into some double teams, he can't kick out anyone that can consistently score out double teams enough. But this is a 1-16 matchup.
Yeah.
I have Grambling as well. Shout out to HBCUs. I have Grambling as well, being the Grizzlies of Montana State. But their run stops there. Purdue wins easily in that 1-16 matchup.
Historically, and I've been on the record as saying it, I'm not a big Purdue believer. I got him here, though, in this matchup against Grambling. Maybe it's a different year for Purdue. We'll talk about it as we progress through the bracket. 8-9 matchup, a good one between Utah State and TCU. Jameer Nelson Jr. leaving the Heads. He's now at TCU, leads them in assists for the season. A 9 versus 8 matchup. These are always good guys. I'm all over Utah State here, and everyone I've done, I just don't believe in TCU this year. I'm going to go with Utah State here over the Big 12.
I'm going to go with TCU.
Who you say is that, TCU?
Jameer Nelson Jr., he left UD, transferred.
Okay, and we got some other connections. Chuck O'Bannon, Charles O'Bannon's son, is at TCU as well.
Yeah, they are.
I'm taking TCU, and I don't think this game is going to be close. Emmanuel Miller and Mika Peavy are problems. I think they're going to be real problems for Utah State, so I'm taking TCU in that match.
Yeah, O'Bannon and Nelson are starting on the same line.
Right, okay, yeah.
In Utah State, one of the best names in the tournament, great Osabor, right? Osabor, I think it's pronounced the last name, and he was the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year. Give me Utah State over TCU. Here we go, guys. Gonzaga and McNeese State. McNeese State, another one of those 30-win teams, a team that I like a lot here this year. And they get Gonzaga, who's now on the 5 line. Didn't win the conference this year. That was St. Mary's. It's the lowest we've seen Gonzaga in a little bit, but they're still a talented team. A 5 versus 12. What do you guys think?
This could be the year where Gonzaga has a first-round exit.
I'm with you.
McNeese State, they have a brilliant guard there. I'm trying to make sure I make it. Shahada Wells.
Yeah, baby. Player of the year.
Yeah, player of the year.
Yep.
Really good. And their guard play at Gonzaga has not been strong this year. Nolan Hickman's probably their best creator. It's problems for Gonzaga. I don't know if this matchup really fits them. So I'm going to take, I can't even believe I'm taking it. I'm going to take McNeese over Gonzaga here.
I can believe it, because I'm the one the same way.
Man,
listen, the spirit of Joe Dumars, baby, going to be
That's right, yeah.
And Christian Schumante is also a tough guy.
I come in maybe
McNeese.
thinking I'm going to be the only one taking McNeese. Not today, all 3 of us. I'm on there.
No, I watched the final between St. Mary's and Gonzaga. St. Mary's had a number all year long. So.
Yeah.
4 players shoot over 40% from beyond the arc, and obviously we know the name Will Wade from LSU. A lot of controversy there. He left. Well, he's
a great coach, man.
And he has done a fantastic job. This team is a high-powered offensively, 30 wins on the year. Give me McNeese in a close one. I think Gonzaga about 5.5-point favorites in that game, but I'll take McNeese. All 3 of us rolling with the 12. This one, guys, to me, is maybe the most interesting first-round game of the tournament.
Sanford and Kansas?
We have the Kansas Jayhawks, who have all the talent in the world, Hunter Dickinson, McCullers, you name it, but both of those guys have been battling injuries for a long time. How healthy are they going to be? Will we see? And there's a lot of question marks about Bill Self's group. And then he gets a 13th seed in Samford, who won 29 games. Samford is a team that presses on every possession the entire game from tip-off until the buzzer sounds. So Samford, a very interesting squad here to grab that 13 spot. They can shoot the ball as well. This one's a tough one for me. I've been going back and forth since the bracket came out last night. If Kansas is healthy, they should be able to win this game. But will they be, guys? That's the question.
If they don't have the big man, I think they're gonna struggle. And I don't even like the big man really like that. I don't know if he's that good of a player, but for this team, they need him. They need him desperately. If he's not there, they've proved that they don't have the pieces, especially with McCullers still battling. If Hunter Dickinson's not playing, it's going to be problems for them. But I am going to take Kansas.
I mean, for those who don't know, Sanford's been a good team for a long time. They make the tournament quite often. I like what they do over the years. But I look at Kansas the way I look at Kentucky. Somewhat disappointing regular seasons based on their standards at their respective institutions. But when it comes to March, they get in the tournament, they usually make a decent run. So I think you need McCullough more than you need Dickinson in this game. So I'm going to go with Kansas.
For me, if Kansas is healthy 100% and we get Dickinson and we get McCullers and they're both out there, Harris is all good to go, I like Kansas. If they're missing anybody at all, even one of those 2 guys, they struggled down the stretch. I think there's a mental aspect to it there. But again, Bill Self is such a great coach. It might not matter in this matchup. I think, though, I like Samford a lot. I'm going to go back and forth in this as we go forward, waiting to hear more injury news. As it stands right now, I'm going to roll with Kansas. But this one was tough for me. I like Samford a lot here in the tournament. So I'll go back and forth. As it stands right now, I'll lean Kansas.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. I got Kansas as well.
And Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, who'd you go with again?
Kansas.
That's what I thought. 3 across the board. Another good one here, 11-6. We talked about the recent upsets with the 11 over the 6. We've got Oregon, another team stealing a bid with that Pac-12 Conference Championship win. And they get South Carolina, a team with an early exit in the SEC tournament. But what a year. They were picked, I believe, to finish 9th in the SEC. They end up with 26 wins and now a 6th spot in the tournament. Oregon is hot coming off that conference
Fool's
championship.
gold.
And go ahead. What do you think?
South Carolina's fool's gold.
Oh.
I think this is a sucker's bet. I'm taking Oregon. Again, they're just now reaping the benefits of their former McDonald's All-American and Folly Dante. This is his last year. He's come on the season strong. And you have, you might know his father, Kwame Evans. Kwame Evans Jr. is down there doing work. So I think they're a tough matchup. So I'm going with Oregon.
I'm back and forth with this one.
It's a tough one, yeah, for sure.
As much as I like Oregon, I really do. I'm going to stick with South Carolina in this matchup.
Okay. That's your problem.
Lamont Paris has done a phenomenal job this season, guys, with this South Carolina team. We talked about it. No expectations coming in and picked near the end of the conference. Give me the Gamecocks. Give me South Carolina in this one against Oregon. For me, and you kind of come up with each year what you're going to do coming into the tour, maybe some trends you're looking for. For me is I'm going away from these teams that stole the bids. I'm away from NC State. I'm away from Oregon. These teams that put together these magical runs, at least to me and what I've learned in the history of the past, is they kind of fall flat once they get there. They've had those big runs, and of course, obviously, could not be the case. But similar thing here, I'm going South Carolina over the Pac-12 champs.
All right.
That'll keep us going here to Creighton and Akron. Akron, I'm sure you've seen that clip as well, losing in the final seconds. An intentional foul committed by the other squad. I forget, it's escaped me here, an 8 seed or a 4 seed. Fouled them up by 1 as seconds were running off the clock. Feel really bad for that young man. That was a terrible thing to experience. But Akron ends up getting the win through that. And now they match up with another team out of the Big East in Creighton, a 23-win team who had a nice run last year. A lot of those guys are back once again.
No, I think Creighton's one of the most dangerous teams in this bracket. Trey Alexander is a brilliant guard, makes really good, capable shot maker. They have pro size with Baylor Shireman and Ryan Kalkbrenner. Kalkbrenner is 7'1". That's a problem for most teams. He's reasonably athletic. He's not a plotter. So I think Creighton, they're going to take Akron, and I do think Creighton's one of those dangerous teams here where you could see them in the Elite Eight. I think they're tough. I think they're a tough team. I think they had some bumps because Trey Alexander was kind of playing a little bit out of his element. They kind of wanted him to be more of a distributor. He's more of a combo guard. So I think once they figured that out, they started to take off later on in the season. So again, look for Creighton to be a disruptive team in this bracket.
Kalkbrenner, 7'1", as Matt mentioned, 3-time reigning Big East Defensive Player of the Year. Creighton, again, one of those teams that could be built for the tournament. Jason, how do you feel?
Creighton.
Creighton. I'm with Creighton
clean sweep
as well over Akron. That'll take us now to Texas and the winner of Virginia, Colorado State. I don't know how you guys felt. You guys are ACC guys. I don't think Virginia had any business getting into the tournament. Not only did they get in, they grab a 10 spot.
Wow.
You're going to have to explain that one to me, guys. I got Colorado State beating Virginia in the play-in.
Oh, that's disrespectful.
Nah, I got Virginia.
Yeah, I'm Virginia as well.
I just think Virginia's got the defense because he's going to bring that pack line defense, and it's going to be good enough for a game for them. Now, I will say this: I do think in that matchup with Texas, I do think Texas can squeak it out. But I will say this: it is contingent on Max Abmas getting off. If he doesn't get off, Texas is going to lose that game. As you may or may not remember, Max Abmas played at Oral Roberts last year. Big-time scorer, 24 points a game. He has not been the scorer for Texas this year, about 15, 16 points a game. Yeah, competition kind of changes those things, right? And they also have a nice guard called Tyrese Hunter, who's pretty solid as well. But if Max Abmas does not get off, they're going to struggle against UVA. But for right now, I will take Texas over the UVA.
Texas, not a great rebounding team. We're a defensive team, but as you mentioned, A. Smith, 17 points per game, making that transfer over. Again, they had a nice run last year, did Texas, Serge Jabari Rice and some of those other guys. They got a little bit of that experience back. What do you think here, Jason?
I like Virginia in the first 4. And then I like Virginia beating Texas.
There you go.
Defense wins championship.
Tell them again.
And I like Virginia in that matchup.
Stop hating. Stop hating on the ACC, dog.
Here comes every year we got a play-in team that makes a little bit of run. Give me Colorado State or Virginia, and I got Colorado State over Texas.
So either way, we have a 10 over the.
That's right, we do. Yep.
7.
So again,
Okay.
and again, Rodney Terry, taking over from Chris Beard during that whole thing, and getting that extension. We'll see if he, how he does this year, if he earned it or not. And Texas had a nice run. We'll see if they can do it. But to me, I like the way Colorado State's played this year. Again, I don't know how they got to get into play-in, but they do. Again, you got to perform in the conference tournaments, and I'll get Colorado State. That's what I'm going to roll with.
Okay.
And that'll take us now to Tennessee and St. Peter's. It was a few years ago that St. Peter's was on the 15 line again and made that huge run.
Shaheen Holloway.
Until they ran into who? Okay, all right.
Woke him up from the
9
dream.
seed. The North Carolina Tar Heels. And we're going to talk a little bit about the guy that was on that team here in a little while. But St. Peter's made that run when they were that 15 seed a few years ago, guys. Obviously a different coach, different roster, different play style. And then Tennessee. It seems like every year they're on that 2 or 3 line. They get 24 wins this year. They get the 2 spot. And coming in, it's usually the defense that's good for Tennessee, and the offense can never catch up. They got a different team this year. They've got an offense, and it's from Northern Colorado transfer. Dalton Connect has been unbelievable, coming out of nowhere to be this scorer for Tennessee. I mean, they've got now the offense to go with that defense. What do you think?
I think Dalton Connect should be the player of the year over Zach Edey, but Edey's probably going to get the trophy just because it's Purdue.
That's fact.
But I think the top 3 players of the year with me would be Edey, Dalton Connect, and R.J. Davis. I think Connect, even though Tennessee is a well-balanced team, Connect is a one-man show. He can single-handedly beat St. Peter's in this matchup.
Most talented volunteer since Allen Houston.
Don't do that.
Whoa.
Don't do that. There's a man in the Bernard King, sir.
Sorry, go ahead. What do you think, Matt?
I'll take Dalton Connect in the squad. I will say this. I'm impressed with Dalton Connect because he did what Grant Nelson at Alabama didn't do. Grant Nelson was on a lot of draft boards from North Dakota State. Transferred to Alabama. Has not had the season that Dalton Connect had. Dalton Connect, probably, I agree with Jason. I think he should earn Player of the Year. But I do think he's going to beat St. Peter's, and I think he's going to have a big tournament, although I do worry about him at the next level, but that's a whole different show. So, but yeah, for right now, I like him in that matchup.
And we will have that show here in a few months. But for right now, I'm going to roll with Tennessee. I think we're Tennessee around the board.
Yeah.
Well, let's head back up to the top now and head to round number 2 of this region. Purdue going up against, with you guys, TCU, and for me, Utah State. Is this where Purdue has their first trouble of the tournament round?
First trouble, only trouble. They out after this.
Yeah.
Really? Round 2? Okay, there you go. I mean, it's what they've been accustomed to, right? That's what.
I just, again, the guards Purdue is only going to go as far as their guards take them. If the guards don't do their job, they're going to be in and out of the NCAA tournament. Because Edey's going to do what Edey does. He's going to get 18, 20 points. He's going to struggle to alter shots because he's not great mobility-wise. And his conditioning, while improved, is going to start taking
His
some
feet
toll.
on quicksand when he look cool. Like he moves in
That's
slow
fact.
motion.
He's very heavy-legged.
And I think that TCU has enough guys to throw at him with fouls.
Yeah.
They got some big bodies.
And I think the guard play of TCU definitely overshadows the guard play of Purdue. And I think TCU takes down the Boilermakers.
Yeah.
So for me, again, and we've talked about it, Purdue's grown accustomed to having these early exits, and that's kind of led to a lot of people not picking them, as you both just did here in round number 2. I'm going against the grain this year. I think this is the year they can get out of the first weekend, right? Can we get out of the first weekend? If we're Purdue, I'm going to go with Purdue to beat Utah State for me and advance out of Indianapolis. These first 2 games are home games for them as a number 1 seed. I think they got to be able to this year get out of that first weekend. I can't guarantee it, unfortunately, but I'm going to predict that here in the brackets. That'll take us now to McNeese and Gonzaga. I had McNeese. Matt, I believe you had McNeese, and Jason McNeese. So we're all good there. And now we've got McNeese versus Kansas.
Yeah.
And
Kansas,
again, I'm assuming that if Kansas were to win and get past Sanford, they are healthy. We're going to assume they're healthy.
Yeah.
Who do you got, McNeese and Kansas?
Kansas.
Kansas is healthy. Give me Kansas. I'm with you. Bill
Yeah.
Self does magical stuff in the tournament. They got the talent. Those 2 big guys in the front court dominate.
Yeah.
Give
Hunter
me
Dickinson's
Kansas.
going to be too tough for McNeese. If he's in the game, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, only way maybe McNeese can outshoot Kansas there. We'll see. but we're all leaning Kansas in that victory there. South Carolina and Oregon, I had the Gamecocks. You guys had Oregon going up against Creighton. Doesn't matter for me. I'm rolling with the Blue Jays in this round to advance.
Yeah, Creighton.
All right, Creighton to the Sweet 16. And here we go. Texas for you guys, I believe. Or no, Virginia for for Jason.
Texas,
for me, Texas. For me, for Colorado State, and for Matt, Texas. So all three of us differ in that 7-10. And they're going up against Tennessee, though.
Tennessee.
Yeah. Let's go. Tennessee wins that first one. I think they get the second one as well, and they advance. If it's Colorado State, though, I think it's a nail-biter. Tennessee with the win to advance to the Sweet 16. We're going to stay at the bottom. Tennessee and Creighton, if it were to play out that way, another great 2-3 matchup here. What do you guys think?
Tennessee.
West.
I'm going Creighton.
Okay, I'm going Tennessee.
Did it last year?
Yeah, going Creighton.
Tennessee.
Going with Creighton. I'm going with Creighton as well, coming off that last year. I know Jason doesn't believe in the Big East, but I think they have the recipe for it with Count Brenner, as Matt alluded to earlier. Give me Creighton in a close one there.
I believe in the Big East if St. John's in the tournament, but
Yeah, true. I would have been with you. I was thinking they would. Now that'll take us back up here to where we have Kansas going up against. Where are we? Kansas going up against Purdue for me. Kansas, and who do you guys got going?
I had TCU beating them.
You had TCU
Oh,
beating
that's
them.
right. You guys have
So I
TCU.
have Kansas beating TCU.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Purdue, this is the year. We're going to keep it rolling, Boilermakers. They're shooting over 40%. They're the fourth best passing team in terms of assists in the country. I know these stats probably sound similar to what they've done in the past, but this is the year. This is it. Come on, Coach Pater and Purdue. Let's do something. Let's get to maybe the Sweet 16 or Elite 8. I've got them here.
This is the year. What does it sound like?
This is the year. So I know what it sounds like. This is our year.
Not our year. Not our year. Ain't our year.
E-A-G-L-E.
Oh, my God. Really? We're going to do that? Quite the off-season for the Eagles, I will say.
No off-season, baby.
NFC East champs 2024. You know, whenever wins the division again, we can guarantee the Commanders.
What
and
happened this
Giants.
year?
We'll see. We got a lot of
Switching
football
gears,
to get
back
to.
to basketball.
Back to basketball.
Back to basketball,
Where
man.
we at? We had the Final Four game? We there?
Let's go back to basketball. I was going to say who's won a Super Bowl most recently, but we'll go back here and talk about college basketball. The Eagles won.
One is the longest number. Is that what has song?
Well, I'm saying more recently. I know you guys like to live in the
Very
past.
lonely.
So you guys like to live in the past, but we're in the future. It's 2024, guys.
So why don't we talk about the future? Why don't we talk about the current? What happened this year?
Basketball.
None
guys.
of our teams
Basketball.
won. None of our teams won. Yeah,
Basketball,
we got to get
man.
back on track.
Basketball.
We went to the prom. Y'all didn't go to the prom, but yeah. Anyway,
You had a
Basketball,
bad
man.
time. You got sick and you left.
y'all went to the prom, bro.
This dance talk about here. This big dance.
Yeah, this is a
here.
big dance. This is a bigger dance
here.
than the
This
prom.
big dance
We
here.
was at there. We had the ticket.
This big dance here.
He was at home with the
This is our big dance right here, man.
eating bonbons and slices of pizza.
This is our big dance here. Right? Come
Yeah,
on.
no, I'm just messing around. He knows I am. Where we at? Is Purdue? You have
We're
Purdue.
I have Purdue getting past Kansas here to get to the Midwest final.
So, okay, you have
guys have
Purdue here. You have Creighton here, right?
And you guys have TCU, Kansas, correct? Yeah.
And then, okay, Kansas, Creighton. I have
Purdue, Creighton.
Ooh, this is a tough one. I am going to go Kansas.
I have Kansas, Tennessee, and I have Tennessee.
Tennessee out of the Midwest.
I don't feel right about that Kansas pick, but whatever.
That's how I feel about this
Yeah.
Purdue pick. But give me the Boilermakers.
To go to the Final Four?
I'm taking them. I'm taking them.
Oh, he's
I'm
really
taking
all in.
him. I-
Okay.
hey.
There we go.
that-
If you want to win your brackets, you got to do some stuff. That
Okay,
people
I
might
like it.
not
I like
see.
it.
I think this could
sounds
be the
good.
year, right? It could
It's
be as number one
imperfect
seed that
serve.
doesn't get a lot of love. Maybe this is the year.
It is an imperfect
Give
science, so all right.
me Purdue, or maybe I'm just real upset after the day one. Maybe they go down to Grambling State again in the round
Man,
one.
look,
But I'll take Purdue here
respect
over
it.
Creighton. Man, that is a tough one though. Now that I think about it, we're gonna keep moving. I'm gonna take Purdue, but Creighton. I think Creighton
I feel
That's
dirty
how I-
about it too, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't feel good.
But my thing is, I could easily see Kansas coming out of this bracket.
that's what I have, but I don't feel right about
It's
it though.
the health, right? Just
Yeah,
there's
it's the
something
health.
about them, the way they've been trending late in the season. You rarely see a team like that come in and really wreak some havoc. But they've
Now-
got Bill Self, so you can't count them out.
Now, folks, if you want some money, we've had a couple of double-digit seeds make Final Four in the last couple of years. So if you want a double-digit seed, I'm going to give you a betting tip. You want to put money on a double-digit seed? If I'm a double-digit seed in this bracket, that could do some damage.
I'm looking at McNeese and I'm looking at Colorado State. I know you
I'm
guys don't
looking
like
at-
Colorado State.
Either McNeese or Sanford.
I'd agree with
I like
that.
Samford too. And
I'm going McNeese in Oregon.
Okay.
And I know we all picked.
But I ain't mad at Samford either.
We all picked Kansas over Samford, but
Yep.
again, all it would take is one injury report. I think all of us are jumping ship on that one.
Correct.
So we'll see how that goes going forward. But there you have it for the Midwest. And now, guys, that'll take us to the fourth and final region where we can talk about your squad now.
That's right, our squad.
The squad, number one
Yeah.
seed. And again, let me say this. Let me preface it by saying this.
Greatest college of all time.
A lot
Go
of
ahead.
people thought
With
that UNC shouldn't have been a one seed. I'm not one of those people. I thought they were a one seed.
A lot of
and
haters.
I think they deserved it here, and that's what they get. They get maybe Howard, Jason, the winners of the MEAC.
Shout out to Del State.
Absolutely.
You played a great game. Coach Waterman, year 3 of the transformation of Del State.
Only going to get better, baby. Only going to get better.
Great showing. We faltered down the stretch, but shout out to Howard. The Bison made tournament back-to-back for the first time ever in school history. Kenny Blakely, the coach, Duke product, Coach K, disciple. So he's giving some of that good energy to Howard, but
Can't do it.
they beat Wagner to get a win in the first 4, but Carolina beats them probably by about 40.
40. So you're saying take the.
I mean, shout out to Dr. Seth Towns, 8th year in school. He did earn his PhD, so he shouldn't have been eligible though. I'm just saying.
Shouldn't be
eligible this year, but that's just me. But he went to, took a year off, contemplated not playing a basketball game, and decided to go to Howard to play. And this guy went from
time to go
the
to
Ivy
pro.
League. He went from the Ivy League Player of the Year to not wanting to play basketball to taking Howard to the NCAA tournament. And mind you, this is actually his first tournament game he's played in.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I'm rolling with the Tar Heels.
I'm going with the Tar Heels. I'm going with Wagner because I'm a hater to the fullest. I ain't cheering for no Duke coach, man.
Well, we're going with either way. The Tar Heels are advancing. It's a real talk about rival. It's real. This Duke North Carolina.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
And that'll take us to another 8-9 matchup. So Matt, I want to get your thoughts. Michigan State coming in 19 and 14.
Yeah.
But here they are. They get a 9 spot here in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, because somehow, some way, Tom Izzo told people, I know where the bodies are buried, and if you don't put us in the tournament, I'm going to tell. That's the only thing I can think of. They did not do well this year.
A lot of
problems. Look, I'll be fair to them. They had some problems with Xavier Booker. That was their star freshman. He did not come in and do what they thought he was going to do. But I'll say this, Mississippi State is going to beat them. I don't think Michigan State should have been in the tournament. It could have been Indiana. It could have been St. John's. They shouldn't have been in the tournament. That's my biggest gripe.
We've been green a lot recently. That's kind of scary.
It is scary.
That's true.
But I don't like the pick either of Michigan State getting the bid. Indiana should definitely be there from the Big Ten. I don't like this matchup for Michigan State. So I'm picking the Mrs. is from Mississippi, Stark Vegas, Starkville. So she's not from there, but that's where Mississippi State is located. So I'm picking the Bulldogs to beat the Spartans in the first round.
I agree with you guys in terms of Michigan State. I thought 19 and 14, but the fact of the matter is they somehow got in. They're in now. And I'm rolling with Tom Izzo. He's one of the best first weekend head coaches in the NCAA tournament.
You picking too much Big Ten.
Don't tell me that. You may be right to go back and rethink everything when you say that. Because I'll tell you, I'm not a Big Ten guy. You're right. That's why I'm going there. But I'm going to go with Michigan State over Mississippi State. And just to look ahead just a little bit, I think that North Carolina game will be tough. I don't think North Carolina blows them out.
You're a hater.
In the second. We'll have to wait and see. Let's keep it rolling here. St. Mary's and Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon. Oh, no. We can retract. What? Go ahead.
No, we talking about you. Talking about you. What?
Would it be that crazy if the 9 beat the 8?
In this matchup, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I think Michigan State should have been a 12.
Yeah, I couldn't.
To
me, it doesn't matter.
How they not a play-in, I don't even know. Let's go there.
Either way, to me, for Michigan State, it all doesn't matter.
They should have at least been even a play-in.
They should have been the NIT or CBI, not the NCAA.
Yeah.
Again, no arguments. I just think once you get Izzo in, things happen, and I think he gets the win in this first round matchup, and I think North Carolina will get the win the second one, but I think it won't be as easy or at least a blowout there. St. Mary's and Grand Canyon, 29-4. Grand Canyon, another trendy pick here coming off of that conference championship, and they get a 12 seed.
Bryce Drew, baby.
For Grand Canyon, that's right. And they get a team that took down Gonzaga for the first time to claim that conference, and that was St. Mary's, 26-7. They've been fantastic in the last month or so. What do you guys see? I think this is going to be a fantastic first-round match.
I think they're mirror images of each other, but I think Grand Canyon has a little bit more potency on offense, so I'm going with Grand Canyon.
I'm actually going with St. Mary's. St. Mary's has been trouble for Gonzaga for a couple years. Shout out to Augustus. You may know his father, Sarunas Marcellonis. He's the point guard there.
Marcellonis. I'm looking at the name like, wait, that's not what it is, is it?
Yeah, that's
they
his
got a good
father.
team.
Yeah.
Every team almost has one of these guys. But yeah, I believe St. Mary's is really good. I think they're going to give Grand Canyon problems. I think Grand Canyon's a great big fish in a very small pond. I think they're going to have some problems with St. Mary's.
And again, lacking some height too there for Grand Canyon. St. Mary's, as I mentioned, they've just been great down the stretch. I like what the Gales
Have you realized that St. Mary's and Gonzaga played in the West Coast Championship for like the last 7 or 8 years in a row? Like,
yeah, it's been crazy.
Same two teams in the final?
Yeah,
and they finally got it
crazy.
done this year. So we'll see if the Gales keep rolling. I'm rolling with St. Mary's. Matt's rolling with St. Mary's. Jason with Grand Canyon. Here we go. The Charleston Cougars, 27-7 out of the CAA, second consecutive year winning the Coastal, and they get Alabama, who gets the 4 spot at 21-11. Alabama's still a very good offensive team, but not like we saw with some of those guys they had last year. They struggled a little bit here in that SEC tournament. Florida was able to beat them. What do you think about Alabama and Charleston? Is this a tough one here?
I think it's going to be a lot closer than people will think.
Yeah.
But I still think Alabama squeaks out of it. I think they got some really good guard play with Mark Sears, and they got some good size with Grant Nelson.
Yeah.
I think they're going to give Charleston a little bit of problem, but I will say this. It wouldn't shock me if this game is decided by 4 points or less. It wouldn't shock me.
I have the same exact thought as Matt. Close game with Alabama getting it.
Close game, but roll tide.
There you go. Let's keep it going to Clemson and New Mexico. And guys, this has been the hottest 11 pick so far. New Mexico, who a lot of people thought the Lobos would be in. They didn't have to win the conference tournament. Well, it turns out they did. Coming out of the bracket yesterday, one of the guys in the selection committee, the head, saying if they didn't win, they weren't getting in. Well, they did anyway, and they get the 11th spot. I thought they should have or would have been in anyway. But they're 11. They get Clemson, who gets the 6th spot at 21-11. I love New Mexico here against Clemson.
I don't want to, but I will because I'm a big believer in P.J. Hall from Clemson. Great mismatch guy. But I will say this. If you want to play the game with who has great names of fathers,
Jalen House, baby.
Yeah,
that's
they've
a good
got
one.
House, and they've got Monster Mash's son is on there as well. So Mashburn Jr. They're a tough squad. I think they'll beat Clemson, but again, it would not shock me. P.J. Hall is a definitely hard guy to guard. Great mismatch, 6'10", can get past you, can pull up. He's a problem. He's a load. But again, I think New Mexico's got enough talent to take them out.
I like the NBA Suns versus Clemson, and we're not homers with our conference. We see we're picking against our conference right now.
And again, New Mexico, 2.5. They are 2.5-point favorites in this game. So the Lobos are favored as the 11 seed, just to give you some insight on that matchup there. 23-10, the Baylor going up against 14 Colgate. The Bears taking on Colgate at 25-9. It was not that long ago that Coach Drew had Baylor cutting down those nets. Yep. And they've got a fantastic backcourt and some guards that can really score this year. Yep. And they're on the 3 line. I love Baylor here, especially in the region as a whole, but I love them in the first round for sure.
Talk about that. We have a team on the 3 line with 10 losses. If that's not parity in college basketball, I don't know what is. Over this year, I mean, look at the top 4 seeds, 3 losses or more, which isn't really used to seeing that. But in regards to this matchup, it's Baylor all day. I don't even see it as being a close game either.
No, it's gonna be annihilation. I'm
rolling with the Bears too big in that first round for Baylor. Now let's keep it going. Dayton and Nevada. This one's, kind of a toss-up for me. Nevada gets the 10th spot, struggling towards the tail end of their season. I believe an early conference exit for them. And then Dayton coming in at 24-7. Should be a good game. I don't particularly have faith in either of these two teams going forward after round 1. I'm going to lean with the Flyers, though, from Dayton.
Dayton's not playing in the first 4 in their home arena. Should be playing there. But Eric Musselman, Nevada. Go Wolfpack.
I'm going to go with Dayton. I just think the Ron Holmes is going to be problems for Nevada, but yeah, it wouldn't shock me if Nevada wins it either. So that's a tough matchup right there.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to keep it going now to Arizona.
Interesting
and
game
Long
here.
Beach State. Jason, talk a little bit about Long Beach State, right?
Long Beach State. Monson was fired before the conference tournament, and ended up winning the whole thing, which is crazy. But you have the Pac-12 Player of the Year, a guy who quit on Carolina, but went to Arizona, Caleb Love.
I mean, how do you guys feel about Caleb? I know towards the end of his North Carolina career, I don't know if were you guys big. I mean, kind of
No.
seemed like he soured his Tar Heel towards the
for
end.
me, it had nothing to do with his
Play.
attitude. It had to do with his play. I used to call him Caleb the Machine Gun Love because he shot everything and he barely made stuff. But look, I give him credit. He made one
When
of the
he gets
biggest
hot, he can get
shots
hot.
we've had. Look, I respect Caleb Love's time at North Carolina. I wish it could have been better the way he left. And I wish him nothing but success. I really do. But, it looks like he's having a good choice there with Arizona. Originally, didn't he go to Michigan and then picked Arizona?
Yeah.
Because originally he was supposed to go to Michigan,
Yeah.
right? You wonder how that would have turned out for Juwan Howard if he went to Michigan.
That's true.
So,
You never know.
yeah, so.
But, I mean, Arizona wins this easily. Nothing to say about that. But think about that Carolina 2022 Final Four squad. You now have 2 players of the year from that team on different conferences. R.J. Davis, ACC Player of the Year. Caleb Love, Player of the Year in Pac-12.
A potential Elite Eight matchup, maybe
Yeah.
down the road. That would
That's going to be awesome.
That would be a lot of fun. But guys, just to talk a little bit about Arizona, obviously this year, it
Not a
seems like
believer
every
in
year
them,
they're
no.
on the 2 line, the 3 line. They're one of those teams you expect a lot from. Similar to Purdue, and just they never seem to really show up or get the job done. Could this year maybe be different?
I mean, but Arizona is preliminarily either they're hot or they're not. I mean, this has been forever.
Yeah.
No matter what coach, Lou Olson, Miller, whoever you have at Arizona, this has been their MO.
Yeah.
And again, they got Keshad Johnson, the transfer from San Diego State,
Yeah.
who had that experience in the national championship last year. So again, Tommy Lloyd's crew has been, a little bit underwhelming in the tournament, but they got some guys additions, like we talked about him, and then also obviously Caleb Love. So maybe they can make a run this year
And don't forget
for Arizona.
Kylan Boswell.
Yeah.
He's a really good guard there as well. So.
And again, to me, for Arizona, it's, as you said, machine gun. It comes down to me for Caleb Love. How efficient is he going to be in some of these games?
Efficiency is huge for him.
And if he comes out cold and, he's going to keep letting them
He's gonna
rip,
keep shooting.
he's going to keep shooting, and that could put them in a tough spot. But if he's hot, they're going to look really good.
Oh, yeah,
So he's
hot,
hit or miss.
yeah.
So we'll see how it goes there. We're all going with
Yeah.
Arizona. Head back up now. I've got Michigan State versus Carolina. You guys have Mississippi State versus Carolina. Any trouble
It
for the
doesn't
Tar
matter
Heels?
who it is.
UNC.
I'm rolling with UNC as well in that matchup. Jason's got Grand Canyon versus Alabama. Me and Matt have St. Mary's versus Alabama. I'm going to start this one. I'm going with the Gales here to advance to the Sweet 16, beating Alabama.
I'm going St. Mary's, beating Alabama. So that's where I'm going.
Jason's thinking.
Alabama.
Alabama going with the Tide there for Jason. That brings us to New Mexico and Baylor. I think this is a game that could have a really low spread coming in. I think it's going to be a tight one. But again, Baylor's one of the teams that I have faith in overall this year. I just like what Coach Drew's been able to do with some of those guys. Jacoby Walter is going to be hopefully have a great tournament for them. They'll expect him to. I'm going to go with Baylor.
I'm going Baylor as well.
Baylor.
All right, down to Dayton and Arizona, at least for me, Arizona.
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 All right, heading back now to the Sweet 16. It'll be North Carolina going up against St. Mary's. And guys, what I think could be a tough game. How do you guys see that playing out?
I'm going UNC.
Decisive or?
I think Babcock and R.J. Davis are at this point almost impossible in that scenario. They know what's at stake. They've got all the experience, and they're not gonna shrink from that moment. I mean, they've already played the biggest game arguably in the program's history in the Final Four, and they didn't shrink at all from that moment. I just think when these guys get into that situation, I think they lock in, and I think they're going to be tough to beat. And I do think they'll beat St. Mary's in that scenario.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I like, Carolina, this is probably one of the more balanced Tar Heel squads in years. I think that balance is going to show throughout the tournament. So I think it's going to continue in that matchup as well.
I think we got
And
some
let me
great
say one more
matchups.
thing. I'm sorry not to cut you off. I also will say this. If our guy, Ryan Cormack, gets shooting, it's lights out.
And that's what he wasn't able to do against NC State.
Yes.
10, 20, and you talk about the age, right? The Tar Heels have that age, right? Baycott's 24, turning 25. Cormac Ryan's 25.
Yeah, he played at Notre Dame. Yeah.
It's hard to find college teams, especially that have that type of guys with that age, and we see that really benefit teams when it comes to
Ingram's a transfer.
Yep, Ingram's from Stanford. He's a McDonald's All-American. He's tough. He's a Mr. Fix-It-All. He can do everything pretty much. He's another tough guy. So yeah,
Freshman, you got Cadeau.
Yep.
Pretty good lineup.
I know it's rare that everybody picks 1 seeds, 2 seeds, or whatever, but I think North Carolina gets the win over St. Mary's as well. I just think they got it going for them this year, and they're going to head to the Elite Eight. That'll take us now back to our other Sweet 16 matchup. It's Baylor and Arizona in the 2-3. Give me the Baylor Bears to take on North Carolina.
Give me Arizona.
I'll take Baylor.
So that takes us to the final in the West, our Elite Eight matchup. North Carolina versus Baylor or North Carolina versus Arizona. I have a feeling which way you guys are leaning.
Yep.
Back-to-back yups. That's all you need. Back-to-back yups here for the Tar Heels advancing out of the West.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Baylor. I'm going to take Baylor out
Not
of the
mad
West.
at that at all.
And I'm going to have Baylor going to or back to the Final Four here
Now,
just a few years removed.
I will say this. If not UNC,
Yeah, I'll ask for both of that question, if not UNC.
I like Arizona.
I like Baylor, if not UNC.
So let's talk about our Final Four now as a whole. So if you look back at the bracket here, out of the East, I think all three of us had UConn.
I did.
Except for Jason.
I had Auburn.
Auburn?
Yep.
So, Jace, let's just start with your Final Four first, and we'll go each person
So I have
here.
Auburn, I have Carolina, I have
Kentucky,
and Tennessee. So 3 SEC teams and 1 ACC team.
So let's start with the big one here. You will, at least a big one. You have Auburn going up against North Carolina.
North Carolina.
And Matt, now to you. You have UConn versus North Carolina, and what would be a heavyweight bout here in the Final Four.
We're going UConn.
Oh, okay. And I'm going with UConn as well to get back to the national championship game, as I'm sure a lot of people around the country are doing as well. Let's head now to the other Final Four. Jason, who you got?
So it's Kentucky versus Tennessee. I like Kentucky. So I have
You got Kentucky versus Tennessee, and you're going with Kentucky.
Yeah.
Kentucky, North Carolina, national championship. Ooh, that's a blue blood.
That's a nice one.
Yeah.
What do you think, Matt? Who are you going up against UConn?
I got, what's my Final Four? I got Marquette coming out of the South, and I got Kansas coming out of the Midwest. I'm going Marquette. So I have Marquette versus UConn.
Oh, Big East matchup.
Yeah, how about that? I would love to see that as a Big East fan. I'm going to go, we talked about Florida out of the South in the Final Four. I have them, as I said, Florida, Kentucky, the winner of that one, but I'm going with Florida as it stands right now. And again, that puts you in a spot now where I had Purdue, right? So Florida, Purdue. Yeah. I'm telling you, when the brackets came out a week ago, I would have never thought in a million years. Purdue to the national championship game
versus UConn.
Purdue, UConn in the national championship. Oh, sounds awful saying it out loud.
Okay, so my championship game is UNC versus
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
There you go.
North Carolina back as your
so
NCAA
badly.
champions.
So great.
All right, Matt, what do you think for your championship? You have Marquette and UConn.
Yeah, I want to be like Jason. I want North Carolina there. But, I'm going to go Marquette beating UConn.
Marquette as the national champions. I'm going to roll.
Not a bad pick, though.
I'm going with UConn. I'm going with UConn here. And again, I'll do two, but for the main one, I'm rolling with UConn to win the national championship back-to-back. That's tough to say, but the way we just filled it out, if I'm the only one to pick them up here, I'll take it. So we'll go Marquette, North Carolina, and UConn. I'll take the Huskies to get back with Coach Danny Hurley, Tristan Newton, Klingon, and company.
Please, North Carolina.
Caravan.
Please.
That team's looking good. Dennis, if we can hear you, what do you think? Who's your Final Four, if you got it? We're putting them on the spot. So what potential matchup, and hopefully we'll have Dennis put his Final Four on the screen for us.
Yeah.
What potential matchup excites you the most out of this tour? Because we've got some potential great ones. I know if you look down here, I'm really hoping we get a UNC Baylor game, and we could have some good ones before that. But what matchup excites you?
I want UNC Arizona. Over
Yeah,
here.
that'd be yes, that's the one everybody is hoping to get.
I want Houston Duke up here in the South. And
I would love a Purdue versus Kansas.
yeah,
If they're healthy,
Yeah.
to see Hunter Dickinson against Zach Edey.
And I will say, if you're looking up just here in the South, in terms of early matchups, I think we could have a Marquette, Kentucky, or a Florida, Kentucky earlier. But Marquette and Kentucky, the number one, what I read today, the most played game in NCAA tournament history. Marquette versus Kentucky. Does that sound accurate to you guys?
it does.
How about that one? Yes,
Wow.
a little bit interesting there. So I think we're going to have some exciting matchups here, especially early on in the tournament.
As you can see, no one picked Duke, guys. Remember that. No one.
Yeah.
Dennis, you got your Final Four?
UConn. Tennessee. Marquette.
Carolina. There you
All right. Who's your winner? UConn. Okay, we got two UConn.
Two UConns, Marquette and North Carolina. Well, guys, before we close out our bracket breakdown, just final words, anything you're looking forward to, anything you thought should have been different with the brackets, anything you're saying. Again, what a phenomenal bracket breakdown.
I
over
know
here from Dennis.
we didn't have enough time for the women's tournament, but I'm going to go out on a limb right now. Juju Watkins, Southern Cal, win the women's championship.
Oh,
I'm rolling with Don Staley.
yeah, I'm rolling with Dawn.
Going with Don Staley. But again, it's going to be a fun week of basketball to kick off the NCAA tournament. Again,
Yeah.
everything getting underway. Play-ins earlier this week, but the real thing, Thursday, 12:15 is when we get underway. So again, how confident are you guys in the Tar Heels coming up this year?
I think
Or this week, I should say.
I think the bad taste of last year did not make a tournament at all. With that, pretty much the same roster, minus Caleb Love and
Ryan Corman.
Ryan,
Yeah.
unfinished business from 2022 and last year. Got to seal the deal. This is their their last ride, if you will. I think Baycott and RJ Davis remember those last 2 years, and
I'm sure they do.
they finally cutting that down.
Man, what stands out to you about this year's NCAA tournament?
Just that how poorly the committee took some of these teams and put them in here.
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, I don't agree with a lot of the seeding that happened. I think they did some favors for some of these conferences. But look, it happens every year. Every year you can point to guys that should have been in the tournament. But it just was weird to me. Like, I'll harp on it, but I just don't understand how Michigan State got in and with a 9, didn't even get a play-in. Like, it's kind of weird to me. But look, I guess maybe they think their fan base travels. I don't know. A little weird.
Sparty.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, look, I think this is probably one of the most unassuming, dominant brackets I've seen in a long time. Like, usually, you're just like, oh, these teams are so good, and you're like, yeah, I can just put them all the way down here.
Can't do that.
You can't do that this year. I mean, this year there's so much
Even
talent.
last year.
So, yeah, you couldn't do it last year. But, like, literally, like, before the last 2 years, you literally could take a number 1 seed and be like, yeah, I just got them all the way down here. Now it's like, there's going to be upsets. And, like, and then, let me just say this. We picked some picks that some of you might be scratching your head and saying, that doesn't make sense. But if you look at the tournament the last couple years, it never makes sense.
Yeah.
So just look, just trust us. Some of these picks that we have may seem a little far out, but trust me, it wouldn't be crazy if they do pan out. Because last year, look, no one had San Diego State getting that
Or
far.
Florida Atlantic going to
Or Florida Atlantic.
And again,
So,
this year, an interesting tournament.
Or
Like,
UConn, for that
5
matter.
teams stealing bids. I mean, just an insane amount. And again, will that be better for the tournament, or will some of these teams that weren't good all year that ended up winning
Right.
kind of get in or water it down a little bit? Will it be the top teams who dominate those teams that got in? I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. But again, you got teams like Pittsburgh, Indiana, St. John's that did not get into the tournament.
right.
So it was definitely an interesting field, some weird seedings for sure this year, but as Matt said, that's just how it goes. We're going to roll with the punches.
Yep.
We made our picks. You've got a few days to make yours, but thanks for tuning in to our 2024 bracket breakdown. Again, we've got pretty good success rate here on the show in March. Hopefully we can keep that going. It's going to be a fun and unpredictable tournament as always. So for Matt, Jason, Dennis, and myself, any closing words we head out?
Yes. Locally, you can watch Del State play on Saturday in the CBI tournament. They'll be playing Seattle University and Daytona Beach.
Okay. Go Red
Hornets.
Hawks.
Well, there you have it. Thanks for all of us. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the games this week. It's going to be a fun March.